laid the soil for a strange thought to grow. A single thought that I'd never had and I'd never heard anybody else of having. You know, I love the quote that says, everything starts as somebody's daydream. That discovery consists in seeing what everyone else has seen, but thinking what no one else has thought. Even though it literally doesn't make any sense, the answer suddenly arrived. There is no side. Think about it. There is no side. Hey, welcome back to level 2 of Linear Squared. We can do this. Welcome back, my people. We are now in part 2 where we expand our thinking, our journey into the nuts and bolts, the pure mechanics of what makes Linear Squared work. But what laid that foundation is summed up perfectly in a teaching scene from the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer. It's here that the master sits down with the student and explains that the legendary Bobby Fischer won this game in 4 moves from this position. The master says, don't move until you can see it, all 4 moves. And the student says, I can't see it. And the master simply says, yes, you can. When the student remains stifled, the master swipes all the pieces from the board.
Here, I'll make it easier for you.
All those preconceived notions of tradition are literally thrown across the room to make room for the efficiency of thought required to see new answers. And then suddenly the student sees it. He sees the answer. It's beautiful.
Like the theory.
Yes.
Sheesh, London. You ever really taught anyone anything with this junk? You just gotta love the funkiness. I dig it. I really dig it. Once I had actually formed the words, there is no side, I ran and printed like 1,000 pages of manuscript paper. I wrote and wrote and wrote until I discovered about 1,500 of these unusual grooves. I didn't know what to call them, but later I would call them Linear Squared. I practiced hours and hours every day. They were absolutely foreign because they were built free. They were built from the theory that there is no side. To start, I had to play them so frustratingly slow. And it was 2 years before I'd even gotten one of them remotely to the tempo of music. It's pretty frustrating. But once I had one to that point where I could hear it and sing it and feel it, I began to know the true power of the crazy foundational principle of Linear Squared. Had I proven the theory? Yeah, I proved it. It works. There is no side. But what does that mean, really? What does it mean? It means this, right here. I was more inspired than ever. I had worked out the basic problems, which is like having only 3 crayons to color with, red, blue, and yellow. But I wanted a lot more than that because songs require a lot more detailing, a lot more nuance. And I didn't want just blue. I wanted light blue, blue, and dark blue. And I didn't want just light blue. I wanted 50 shades of light blue. So, because that's what music requires. So on September 10th, 2024, after I did my 24-hour practice live stream challenge, which is on my channel, for my birthday, I started the 1,000-page versions to flesh out the 1,000 shades of light blue. Look, here's exactly what makes Linear Squared so incredible. Hey, if you didn't have any barriers, what would you create? First, back in 1995, I created a mirror kit. I had a Grand Star Custom Tama, beautiful, and I really loved it. I put a remote hi-hat in the middle and kind of staggered the toms down both sides. But that year, the next year, in 96, January, we had like a 100-year flood here, and it wiped everything out, except for my written music, thank God. In the fall of 96, after that flood, I ordered the fully mirrored, actually mirrored blue DW that I have now. I got it in 97. And the problem is that I was still initially in the thinking that there were sides. So I'd practice everything on the right side. I'd practice it, double it on the left side. I didn't know any better, but it was a good start. It was just the beginning of it was just one part of the elephant. Second, I questioned music writing techniques to the point where I actually dropped 5-line staff, piano staff altogether when I came across this 2-line drummer staff, which solves every problem. I'm going to make a video on that, so please check that out. Because the harder the music is, the easier it is to read. There's just far less ink, and it tells you exactly what's going on physically on the page. You don't have to have rights and lefts and such. These two innovations between the mirror kit and the 2-line made it possible for Linear Squared to ever be possible. So for the true nerds out there, what is the actual technical premise of Linear Squared? So originally, the drumming tradition would call this linear drumming. Here's an example. Linear means line, so that's notes in a line. That could be straight 16th notes, or it could be a broken rhythm of 16th notes, as long as it's in a line and there's no layering. This would be a pattern that you played with your hands originally, and then your feet could be doing whatever. It could be doing an ostinato, which is just a fancy word for a repetitive phrase. Later, though, linear has evolved into being both your hands and your feet. Traditional grooves, like we have in level 1 of the Great Start Drum Set series, those first 10 volumes. Here's an example of what that is layered. That's what most music requires, and that's usually what you hear when you hear drummers play. And that is what all of level 1 of the series is about, is layered playing. The next level will all be linear, and here's an example of that. So layered and linear, that leads us to linear squared. Because of the new broader possibility world of the mirror kit and the 2-line drummer staff, we arrive at the incredible thought that there is no side. That was the garden in which those seeds grew. I'll show you exactly how. With linear squared, there are 2 interacting linear themes being played at the same time. First, there's the linear with your hands. That's hi-hat, snare, and toms. And then there's also the linear underneath with your feet. That's your double bass, snare, and toms. This is where these 2 worlds are constantly interacting and morphing from each other. Here's how. All right, so you can see how that works as a slow walkthrough in the video version. But for those of you who are brave enough to read actual drum music, here it is, me pointing out the notes as they happen. All right, let's see it. The key is that the snare and the toms are the drum set voices where both linear themes share each other. This creates a distinct linear hybrid, linear squared, that allows for the most efficient motion of any rhythm or voicing. You got the mirrored kit, it's efficient on the kit. You got the 2-line, it's efficient on the page. And this creates a system of efficiency of interaction. I'll explain how this specifically works and why it's incredible. Here's a triplet example. What's your favorite groove feel? I've always loved the triplet shuffle versions. I have always loved the triplet shuffle. Always. All the way back to the first rock shuffles I ever heard, like Thin Lizzy's Boys Are Back in Town, through piles of blues, funk, pop, Simon Phillips playing Space Boogie with Jeff Beck, Omar Hakim on Shadows in the Rain, Jeff Porcaro's Rosanna, Alex Van Halen's Hot for Teacher. There's zillions of them, and I always have loved them. I've always loved them. The perfect thing about Linear Squared is it is the ultimate freedom of this concept right here. Your hand notes on the hi-hats also include the snare and the tom notes. So every time you hit a snare or tom, it automatically goes to the next available hand because it's linear. Remember, the most efficient way to play a rhythm is alternate strokes. So one hand can be moving while the other hand is playing. The same is true for double bass, always linear. Alternating strokes. That also includes the snare and the toms. And so every time you hit a snare or a tom, the bass drum stops, resumes, switching to the next alternative foot. So you keep alternating your feet as a snare or a tom comes in play, and there is your linear underneath. So it's linear hands and linear feet, always alternating in their given phrases, interacting between the snare and the toms. Okay, thinking on what I have explained so far about Linear Squared, watch this odd metered example. I love 5/8. Sometimes it even sounds like the Mission Impossible theme. Okay, London, but what does it mean that there is no side? Okay, here it is. Now stop and think deep on this. There is no spoon brought me to the realization that there is no side, because no matter what voice your hand hits, it always goes to the next alternative stroke. No matter what your foot hits, it always goes to the next alternative stroke. It literally is a living algorithm that is morphing and adjusting on every single note, never exactly the same. And because of the mechanics of having a drum set with every voice doubled, mirrored, there is no set pattern. You are free from thinking sides. Very hard to get your mind around until you start doing it and you realize how free this thing is. This new system won't even allow you to think that there's a side to start over on. For example, if you have an even number of notes on your hands, your hands will resolve by the end because you have two hands and it divides evenly into an even number of notes. So that means that your hands will start back over at the beginning. But if your feet have an odd number of notes, then your feet are going to reverse against those hands that start over in the same position. This is part of how it's so free. It's part of how it's hard to get your mind around it because it's constantly morphing. That means if at the end of the next measure, your feet are odd again, another odd series of numbers, they will start back over on the other foot. And if your hands now are odd, they will start back over on the alternate hand. And now it'll be completely reversed, your hands and your feet. This constantly is morphing and changing.
Oh no!
You never know which hand you're going to crash with to come out because it could be changing at your whim of just adding another note. It's incredible, really. It really is the ultimate freedom because it doesn't matter what rhythm you do or what voice you do or what side you're on, because you will always go to the next available stroke, the next freest physical action on your hands and your feet. Just to sweep all that off to the side for a second, there's another incredible benefit that is just really fun, and that is just the singular voiced linear pattern. Here, let me show you. This is like a tom melody groove. Yeah! Those are pretty cool. But hey, let's get back to the linear squared. This is where the real problems and the freedom remain. I don't know if you caught it, but there's a mind-blowing fact of linear squared. Your hands and your feet are always alternating single strokes. Always. I mean, it's completely possible that you could spend the whole rest of your life and never play a double stroke, a triple stroke, a whatever stroke on any limb ever again if you wanted to remain in the world of linear squared. Exclusively, you could just play single strokes the rest of your life. This is exactly why so many drummers just kind of blank stare strangely when I bring this stuff up. For so many, it was just a bridge too far. I love the quote that people prefer a problem that is familiar over a solution that's not. You got to ask if it's you because, well, if that's most people, chances are the odds, the science of the odds. Yeah, science of the whatever. Hey, you know your linear squared thing, London, it's making sense. You, not so much. You know, I love linear squared. I mean, it's my whole life now. The study that I just wrote, the 1,000 pages, will be the thing that I am studying from here until the end of my life. It's so beautifully elegant. But look, listen. Just as it happened to me, when you are ready, you are ready. It's just like they say, when the student is ready, the master will appear. Hey there, my people. We've got to get this message out to the world. If anything in my work speaks to you, think about subscribing. And hey, my people, if you guys want to support the channel, check out the merch store below and grab yourself a hat or t-shirt and get motivated. And go to Amazon and pick up the whole series. Get on the freeway, the level 1 of Great Start drum set. It'll take you there. This is the way I wish I was taught. So here's my final thought. For the Great Start drum set series, I have one of my all-time favorite quotes. An army can be resisted, but not an idea whose time has come. Linear squared is that idea. That time is now. You go down that path and soon you'll be shouting out, there is no side. There is no side. It's the best thing ever. There's just so much strange magic here to pursue. Linear squared. God, I thank God that I found you. Back at it. Hey there, people. Hey, if you want to check out me playing on a regular kit, playing along with some Virgil Donati songs, or if you want to see me try to play like El Estepario Siberiano in a funny video, then check them out because they're coming up right now.